Hello world, Krista here with Books and Jams. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 4. Today I'm going to be telling you about all the books that I read in November, as well as doing the giveaway announcement from the giveaway that I posted last week. I'm super excited to be giving away some books to one of you, my lovely viewers in my little corner of the internet. I read 9 books in November, which is fantastic. I am on a little streak, I guess. You may notice that I'm filming in a different location. I'm actually in another room of my house. I just bought this lovely bookshelf recently because I've been hauling a lot more books and I've been wanting a corner of my bedroom to be a reading corner for my miracle morning anyway. So I rearranged a few things and made it possible. Hopefully there's going to be some floating bookshelves going up on the wall and maybe some other fun artwork as well. But for now, it's a work in progress and I'm excited to be filming in here today. So the first book that I finished in November, you've already heard me talk about quite a bit, and that is Miracle Morning by Hale Elrod. I have really been loving my mornings. You can watch all the videos that I've been posting about that already. But as for this book itself as a book, I didn't love the writing of it. And it does focus a little more on business success, which is not at all what I am using it for, the idea of Miracle Morning. But I'm not going to talk about it too much because I already have been talking about it. I would recommend looking into it if it's something that you're interested in. But again, check out those other videos for more information about that book. After Miracle Morning, I finished Crooked Kingdom, which is the second book in the duology by Leigh Bardugo, following Six of Crows. So I'm not going to tell you too much about the storyline of Crooked Kingdom. I will say that I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I love these characters. They're a little morally ambiguous. They're mostly criminals. I love the relationship that they build with each other, and it's almost like a little family that they build, and I love that about them. I love Leigh Bardugo's writing. I was not spoiled for something that happens in the book, but by watching Bedtime Book Club's video, they did say that there's some kind of tragedy that happens or something that makes them cry or makes them really emotional. So I felt like I was reading the whole book anticipating this event, and so I was a little bit prepared for things as they came along because I had been preparing my heart ahead of time. I love how Leigh Bardugo gives us glimpses of the plan as it unfolds, or the plot as it unfolds, but doesn't tell us the whole thing. It really kept me on the edge of my seat waiting for the next bit to happen. One more thing that surprised me about Crooked Kingdom is that the characters are really such young characters. They're really only teenagers. And as I read the books, I kept having to remind myself that they're teenagers and they've all gone through so much life experience already up till this point, and it really hardens them in some ways and makes them seem much older than they are. But I really loved Crooked Kingdom, and I'm really looking forward to reading more from Leigh Bardugo. I've not read the Grisha trilogy, and I'm really looking forward to reading that in 2017. I'm kind of going chronologically from what I read this month. It was nonfiction November, and I don't read much nonfiction all the time. I try to read 1 a month, but I don't always succeed with that. But this month I did read 3, and I'm almost done with a 4th, which is very exciting. So in November, the second nonfiction I read is called Completely by Jackie Policastro. I have talked about this in my Miracle Morning wrap up for week 2, I believe, because I was reading it at the time. But this book takes a deeper look at Cain and Abel from the Bible and really talks about the characteristics of each of those people and how to be more like Abel and less like Cain. I really appreciated this book. As part of my Miracle Morning, silence and prayer is part of my routine in the mornings now, and I really took something from her book that she says to breathe in identity and breathe out surrender. So as I breathe in, just remembering who I am and that I'm created by God and that I'm loved and all of these positive things about who I am as a person, and then breathing out surrender and being willing to give of the things that I am to bless other people and to help other people and to make my little corner of the world a better place. So I love that idea of breathe in identity and breathe out surrender. And that was really something that I took away from this book that I loved. After finishing Completely, I read Unblemished by Sarah Ella, and this is a lovely fairy tale-esque story about a girl named Eliana. We meet her as a teenager, and she has a marking on her face, and it has really affected her and the way that she sort of tries to isolate herself from other people because of her shame and discomfort with the way that she looks. But then as the story unfolds, she learns that there are deeper meanings to those markings, and it begins to change the way that she views herself and change her as a person. As Eliana learns to accept herself, she learns to love other people and care for other people. She gains confidence and strength as she stands up for others and fights for what she grows to believe in. There is a bit of a love triangle in this book, and I liked it because I kind of wavered back and forth for a little bit with which character I wanted her to end up with. I did end up on Team Kai at the end, so I don't know where the next book is going to take us, but I did end up wanting and rooting for Team Kai. I loved the world that Sarah Ella creates. There are different reflections, and Earth and the world as we know it is the third reflection, and she travels in this book to the second reflection, so you kind of learn a little bit about how the world is set up. And that was very creative and unique, and I appreciated that. The ending at the climax was a little bit confusing for me. I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I had to really reread a couple bits here and there to understand what was going on. But I am very excited about the next one. I'm very excited about this world, and I thought it was a lovely read, so I did give it 4 stars. Then I completed a buddy read with Read, Create, Repeat Homeschool, and I'll link her channel below, and I'll also link my video that I did about this, a book talk. Wolf by Wolf is an alternate historical fiction about World War II era, as if Hitler and the Axis powers, so Japan and Germany, won the World War, and it's about a motorcycle race and this girl Yael who enters the race to win and kill Hitler. I talk a lot more about this in the video that I did about this book, so I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but I loved it. It was a little bit choppy at the beginning and end, but I loved it, and I'm on the waiting list at my library to read Blood for Blood, which is the sequel to this one, so I'm very excited to get that soon. Following Wolf by Wolf, I completed this book, which is called I Will Always Write Back by Caitlin Elafranca and Martin Ganda with Liz Welch, How One Letter Changed 2 Lives. I was recommended this by a woman that I worked the library book sale with. It is a nonfiction about 2 children, really. This girl from America begins writing as a pen pal project for school to a boy who lives in Zimbabwe, and it's about their relationship and how that relationship really grows from those early letters, so that until he becomes a part of their family, basically. Their family helps him to come to America, and it's a really sweet, extremely quick read. I let my mom read it while I was home for Thanksgiving, and she flew through it in a day and a half. It's very heartwarming and sweet, and I really enjoyed this one as well. Then I completed another buddy read this month with Catherine from Jane Catherine on Books, and we completed Love Anthony by Lisa Genova. And this is a story of 2 women, Olivia and Beth, who don't know each other throughout the majority of the book, and it tells their story and the sadness of their lives, really. Olivia is a mother of an autistic child named Anthony, and has some struggles financially and with her husband because of the stresses of raising Anthony and the medical bills and all of his appointments and therapies and such. And Beth, at the beginning of the book, we learn that her husband was having an affair, and so she finds herself as a single mother. And it's just the story of these 2 women and how they kind of are grieving and coming to grips with their life as it is now, even though it's not maybe what they expected. And then eventually as their roads connect. It was very special. Heartwarming book. I am not married and don't have children, so I didn't really relate strongly with either of the 2 characters, but I did root for them. I did hope to see them find happiness again, because it was really quite sad to watch them grieving, and I do understand grief, and so it was really interesting to read their story. It was very beautifully written. I loved Lisa Genova's writing, and I really enjoyed reading it with Catherine and hearing her thoughts along the way and sharing my thoughts with her as we read together. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was a good read. 2 more! I listened to the audiobook of Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix this month, which is the 5th book. And this book, I know people say that Harry is quite angsty in this book, but I really felt for Harry. He really just gets a lot of crap thrown at him in this book. I mean, Umbridge is introduced in this book, and all of the things that happen towards the end, and his 2 best friends become prefects and not him, and just one thing after another, and Quidditch is taken away, and he's unable to talk with Sirius, and just all of these horrible things. And I listened to it on audio, as I've said before, and the narrator is fantastic. Every time I heard Umbridge's voice, I just would cringe. It's just, she was an awful person, as I know you all know. She's horrible and awful. I almost dislike her more than Voldemort, but we don't really get too much of him in this book. I mean, he's a presence, of course, but Umbridge is all throughout this book, and the way that the narrator created her syrupy, sweet, and her little cough, he just was really talented at making me hate her. So I really, although it was a hard read because I just felt for Harry so much, I really enjoyed reading this book, listening to it on audio. So obviously the lighting is different and I'm looking different because I had to switch to my phone because my battery on my camera totally died. But I needed to finish this before it gets super dark outside. Already the lighting outside is not that great. So yes, I just finished talking about Harry Potter basically. Umbridge is the worst. Harry is a little angsty and growing up, but I really liked the progression of the story that happens in Order of the Phoenix and looking forward to continuing with Half-Blood Prince this month. And finally in November, actually it was in December, I just finished this on December 1st, so I'm counting it for a November read because I read most of it in November, and that is The Strange and Beautiful Sorrows of Ava Lavender by Leslie Walton. And this book took me a good 50 pages or so to really connect with the story. I don't know if it's my first magical realism ever or not. I must have read other magical realism, but the way that she writes the magic mixed in with the realism is really different at first, and it took me a lot to get used to it. However, once I did get used to it, I really did enjoy this story, and it really was beautiful and sorrowful. So we follow 3 generations of women from this same strangely magical family. So about 50 pages from the end, I came across this quote that I was like, oh my word, that's what I think this story is mostly about. And it says, just because love don't look the way you think it should, don't mean you don't have it. And that's one of Emilienne's, the grandmother's friends, Wilhelmina, says that to her. And I have a really hard time pronouncing the names in this book, even throughout the book. I was like, I don't know how to say that. But the quote, again, just because love don't look the way you think it should, don't mean you don't have it. And the grandmother, Emilienne in particular, did her darndest to avoid love throughout her life. She, as a younger girl, had a few men that she found herself in love with or thought she was in love with, and horrible things happened because of it. And her family, when they were young, her brother and sisters had horrible things happen to them because of love. So she spent her life avoiding love at all costs. And even when she ended up getting married, it was not because of love, or so she thought. Or it was a loveless marriage, even though looking back on it, she was loved and she did love him. But it just looked a little different than what she thought. So I really loved that aspect of this book, and thinking about these 3 women and the way that they were loved and the way that they showed love in the midst of all of the beautifully written magical scenes where you couldn't quite differentiate because they were just so strange. It's beautiful. So the story is ultimately around this girl, Ava, who is born with wings. And you know that right from the beginning. She introduces herself. It's told with Ava as the narrator of her family's saga. It's about Ava learning about her family and telling her family's story, and really ultimately about her growth as a character and her as a young woman, and learning to accept herself and accept her family with all of their differences. And I really liked it by the end. There are some horrible scenes that almost don't seem as horrible because of the way the strange magical things are written throughout it. I'm not sure magical realism is my genre because it really was quite strange. But I did ultimately enjoy this book and think that it was beautifully written by the end of it. So I would recommend it, but recommend it with the understanding that it might be different from other things that you've read before, but to give it a chance and to really yeah, go into it with an open mind. So here are the 9 books that I finished in November. Just before I finish up, I will be putting in a clip of the drawing that I did for the giveaway. I had a little helper at church today help me with pulling out a name from one of you who commented on that giveaway post. Keep tuned in for that, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi everybody, I'm here with my little friend Gabrielle, and we are gonna do the drawing that I had posted on here for my giveaway. So I put everybody's names in the hat who commented that they were interested in the drawing, and my little lovely Gabrielle is going to pick a name, and I'm gonna tell you who won, and then I'll get that in the mail this week. So Gabrielle, shake them up, don't peek. Don't peek. All right, who is it? Maria Raby. Raby. I don't know how to say your name, but I'll send you an email and I'll let you know and we'll get your address. And yay. Say goodbye, Gabrielle.
Bye.
Bye.